Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spill the Tea, Lou. My name is Lou. I am slightly the worse for wear after the last 2 days, but I'm back to work today. Boo. But I'll be back off again tomorrow, so it's not all bad. I hope everybody had a very lovely, very Merry Christmas, that you are full of good cheer and beer and food and everything else. And for those that maybe that don't celebrate the holidays or that it's a difficult time, it is all but over. You're nearly through it, and football is back. So it's not all bad. Now, obviously, we did have a match last night between Manchester United and Newcastle. I'm a very happy camper this morning because we did, in fact, win that match. And I would just say, before the match, I was not at all convinced that that was going to be the outcome. So I'm very, very relieved because it's 3 points that we absolutely needed. And I would also just say there is and we do seem to break a lot of these records, so that maybe made me a little bit more nervous last night. But there's a record that Manchester United have not lost a home game at Old Trafford on Boxing Day in 47 years. So I just thought to myself, oh, this would be the year. This would be the one. We have a habit of breaking these at the moment, but we didn't. We won 1-0. An absolutely fantastic goal by Dorgu. Just it's when it's coming down in the air, and you can see in the replay, if you watch his eyes, he is so firmly focused on that ball, strikes it while it's still in the air. Absolutely fantastic goal. And when they spoke to him in the after-match interview, he turns around and says to the interviewer, I didn't even know I could do that. And one of the other important things from the game was it was Aidan Heaven that was there with Patrick Dorgu in the after-match interview. And Aidan Heaven says the first thing that comes out of his mouth, so the interviewer speaks to him, and literally the first thing Aidan Heaven says is, we got a clean sheet. We got a clean sheet. We've been looking for that for weeks. So it just goes to show you, it's not just the fans that are looking for a clean sheet. It is very clearly on the team's mind, which means it's very clearly on Ruben Amorim's mind. And I said this in my match reaction after our last match. I said, we have got to start getting some clean sheets. We're scoring loads and loads and loads of goals, but we're conceding loads and loads and loads of goals. We have got to stop conceding so many goals. Clearly, that has been on the team's mind for that to be the first thing that came out of his mouth. I believe that Aidan Heaven did actually get the official Man of the Match award yesterday. He was fantastic. He has been so good. That was his 5th start in a row. Him and Martinez yesterday were really, really, really good. I have to say my man of the match would have been Dorgu, but I certainly wouldn't take anything away from Heaven. Dorgu was brilliant. Dorgu had the game of his life yesterday on the right-hand side. Speaking of the right-hand side and the fact that he doesn't normally play there, we did set up a little bit differently than we normally do. So let me show you what I am looking at. So, because otherwise I'll talk my way through it and I'll forget that you can't see what I can see. So there we are. So we did start yesterday, and if you saw this little graphic before the match, it did not look like this. What it looked like was a 3-4-3. When they warmed up in a 3-4-3. And then as soon as the match started, we moved into 4-2-3-1, which everybody was absolutely just mystified by. I have to say I wasn't overly surprised. If you just looked at the list of names and the lineup before the match actually kicked off, I'm looking at it going, we're definitely doing 4 at the back here because of who these players are. There's absolutely no way we're doing 3-4-3 with these players. So I wasn't overly surprised. It was also something that Amorim said he was going to do. Sure, it was leaked out. So we kind of knew during AFCON we were going to be moving it 4 at the back. And I mean, if we're going to do it, it was a really good match to start doing it because Newcastle are a very good team, having had a difficult start to the season. They were starting to move into the ascendancy. They were starting to move up the gears. They were starting to do well. So if we were going to go to 4 at the back, I think yesterday was the day to do it. And obviously it was highly effective because you can see it's familiar to a lot of these players. It felt like putting on, like a cozy old jumper that you've had for years. You just know how it feels. It's familiar. It's really nice. It was very, very effective. But as you can see there, then Dorgu over here on the right-hand side, he's a right winger when he normally plays at left wing back. So, I mean, that was quite the change from Amram. And a lot of people are saying, that was quite deceptive and it's quite unusual. Gary Neville said, like, he's never seen that before. Why would you warm up in one formation and then actually play in a different formation? Well, Gary, obviously the idea is that Eddie Howe didn't know what he was going to be facing, and it was very, very effective because about 8 minutes into the match, all of a sudden, Aaron Ramsdale is injured. He goes down. So when we start playing, we're very clearly in the four at the back. Eddie Howe and his assistant coach are deep in conversation. My goodness me, they were having serious talks. And so then all of a sudden, after they finish the serious talk, Ramsdale goes down injured. All of this information is communicated to Lewis Hall. It is Lewis that you call him, yeah, Lewis Hall. And then he shares that with the rest of his teammates. And Manchester United having been fully in control for the start of the match, because obviously the Newcastle team were shell-shocked by the formation. They didn't know what they were expecting. These tactical changes, once they're communicated to the rest of the team, all of a sudden Ramsdale's completely fine. And let's be clear, Eddie Howe has a history of this. This is not the first time that he's done this. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying online on Twitter, that shouldn't be allowed. It's cheating. Eddie Howe should be there should be a rule against it. There should be some sort of repercussion or problem with this, because Eddie Howe is known for consistently doing this. I'll be honest, I'm not going to hammer him. It's a bit of the dark arts. It's a little I understand people's frustration, especially when it's happening against our team. So it's not that I was very pleased about it, but I mean, I just think it's one of the dark arts. It's something that belongs to football. It's something that people have done for years. Fake an injury, do this. There was definitely parts of the second half. There was one part in the second half where Dorgu goes down injured. We've already scored, so we're 1-0 up at this point. And you see Martinez run over to Dorgu, pat him on the back. Dorgu's trying to get up and Martinez is shoving him back on the ground, to the point where the referee comes over. I'm sure it was Anthony Taylor yesterday, wasn't it? Yes, it was Anthony Taylor yesterday. To the point where Anthony Taylor comes over, doesn't even speak to Dorgu, just turns to Martinez and is like, stop it. Do you know what I mean? So I think if you eliminate the dark arts from the game, you're losing a little bit of something. It is frustrating. And if it had worked, I'd have been raging. But also, I don't think we can eliminate some and not others. There's always going to be a touch of that in football. And I do think sometimes it can be a little bit of fun. You could definitely see, for example, our manager played a bit of the dark arts. It was very intelligent. He obviously, Gary, to go back to Gary Neville, the reason that he trained or he warmed up in one way and then started the match in a different way was so that Eddie Howe was not prepared and Newcastle weren't prepared. But that's not the first time that he's done something weird like that. When it was coming to AFCON, he was saying 3 days before AFCON that he didn't know if our players were going, if they were going to be available for the Monday night match. Wouldn't tell anyone in his press conference. I said at the time that I fully believed he knew who was going to AFCON and who wasn't, who would be available and who wasn't. And I said, because that wasn't even the first time that he's lied to the media, because there was a time before that, and let me remember what it was. It was about the injury, so I can't remember what match it was before. Somebody did tell me and I forget now. Before one of the matches, he was being asked about our injuries, who was out, and he literally turned around in his press conference and was like, well, I know, but I'm not telling you, because if I tell you, I'm telling everybody. So he is very much going about now, and it's becoming a real thing where he is purposely withholding or changing the information that's being made available in public to the media and therefore to the opposition manager and team. And I am absolutely here for it. When Ruben Amorim does things wrong or mental things, I criticise him. I'm about to criticise him. But when he does things right, I'm absolutely going to give him the praise. And I have to say, I'm really enjoying this little bit of deviousness he has going on, this little sneakiness that he has going on. Because do you know what? And I've said this before, as fans, we want to know everything, but we don't need to know everything, because whatever we know, the opposition knows. And I'm happy to have less information if it gives my team an edge against their opposition and the opposition manager. So I'm all for it, and I'm not going to criticise then another manager for doing stuff that's a wee bit sneaky. We all know he's doing it, but look, That's the way it is. He's not going to stop. He's been doing it long enough now. But what I would say overall in the match, we started off very well. Eddie Howe then, after Ramsdale injury, made some tactical tweaks. Newcastle started to play much, much better then. You could see their entire change in shape. And what I just thought when I saw it was, look how good that is. Look at a manager with real-time game management, tactical changes in-game based on what's happening in the match. Not going in saying, these are our tactics, and then when you see it's not working or it's not what you've planned for, going, well, this is our tactics now, we're sticking with it. I was so impressed with Eddie Howe, and I think it's something that more managers should do. It was something that Ollie used to do that I loved. He would look at what was happening in the game and he would adjust accordingly. So really, really good by Eddie Howe, and it was effective because his team then had a really solid spell. Lomans was making some fantastic saves, as per usual. And then, I don't know, this sort of slowed a little bit and we sort of grew back into the game. So I would say we started and ended the last block of the half quite well. I would say they maybe had 15 to 20 minutes in the middle of that where they performed well, but they didn't take their chances. I talk all the time about my team not being clinical. Yesterday, Newcastle were not clinical. Voltemada, who has been so good for Newcastle all season, did not have a good game. Voltemada did not have a good game, and you could see the difference when he did not have a good game. I didn't think Anthony Gordon was as good as he had been this season. Lewis Smiley, I thought he did well, especially considering that's just not his position, and he's still playing. Now, what is he, match 3 or 4? It's not his position. You wouldn't know watching him play it's not his position. So I think overall, I think the whole team for Newcastle just didn't perform, but definitely Voltemada was underwhelming, particularly compared to how he has been this season. Now, the other 2 talking points that I want to go through before I let everybody go and enjoy the rest of their day, before all the football starts, is the substitutions. We have to talk about the substitutions by Ruben Amorim because, honestly, it was a madness. So, half-time, Jack Fletcher comes on, Mason Mount goes off, which means Mason Mount is injured, doesn't it really? I mean, let's be honest, Mason Mount is definitely injured because why else would you substitute him at halftime? Jack Fletcher come on. Obviously, his daddy's going to be very proud. His mammy, they were there in the audience. He was on the bench for Manchester United with his brother. He's living his best life. He come on, and I didn't notice him very much. And when I say that, I mean it as a compliment because he didn't stick out like a sore thumb. He wasn't making loads of mistakes. I wasn't like, oh my God, there's Jack Fletcher giving it away again, which means that he may not have had an outstandingly wonderful match, but he obviously had a good match because I didn't notice him, which means, to be honest, sometimes when you don't notice a player in the midfield, that's good because it means they're pulling all the strings, but they're not right there. I find, see, with a midfielder, you notice them when they're making mistakes, not when they're doing things well for the most part. So I was happy enough with Jack Fletcher. It's nice to see him getting minutes, and he's probably going to get some more minutes, especially if Mason Mount is injured. Bruno was injured. Manu is injured. With our players at AFCON, it's just an absolute muddle in our midfield. Speaking of which, we have also recalled Collier from his loan. He is injured. He's, I think, supposed to be out for another 8 weeks, and we have decided that we are not sending him back to West Brom at the end of his recovery. I think that's an excellent decision because it's not been a good loan for him. And if he's not benefiting, what's the point in having him there? We're not there to serve West Brom. We're there to serve ourselves. And our player has had multiple injuries. He's had a very stop-start season. It's not been a good loan. Absolutely delighted he's going to be staying at Manchester United. And he's a very defensive midfielder, but he's robust and he's strong and he's solid. I really like him. So I'm hoping we might see a bit of him as well, that he might get an opportunity with the way things have fallen. In the 60th minute, Sesko went off. I'll be honest, I forgot. There was times I literally forgot Sesko was on the pitch. I didn't think he was very good. I didn't notice him. I just didn't notice him. All of our attacks, it was Cunha and Dorgu. They linked up so well, and I had to laugh because they're normally on the same side. But yesterday when they were on opposite sides, they were unbelievable linking up. It was really good. It was nice to see the chemistry between them. But all of our attacking movements seemed to be going through Cunha and Dorgu. There was very, very little of Sesko. I thought it was very underwhelming. I like him. I really like him, but it was underwhelming. I literally, there was times I forgot he was playing. That's not good. And then everybody will have seen Casemiro's face when he was taken off the pitch. And it wasn't like, you know the way sometimes players get angry and they don't shake the manager's hand and they don't want to talk to anybody and they're raging they've been taken off. He wasn't raging. He was genuinely, absolutely, completely confused by the whole situation. And you can see him going, me? Do you mean me? Are you sure? And I have to say, I think every United fan felt the exact same way. What are you doing taking Casemiro off in the 60th minute? We're only 1-0 up against Newcastle. Casemiro was controlling everything. Absolutely baffling substitution. Nobody except Amram knew what the reasoning was. And like that, Casemiro, he wasn't like ill-natured about it. He was just genuinely completely confused by the whole thing. Poor Yoro has had a tough time recently. I thought he was decent when he came on yesterday. Obviously then we see some more changes, but then we get to this, which is just a madness, an absolute madness. I don't know what the man was thinking. His substitutions, literally, they're nuts. They're nuts. I think just as the game goes on, the stress gets to him, he loses the plot completely and he just starts pointing at names because honestly, I don't understand. See if we're 2 or 3 up, I'm like, all right, okay, there's a few minutes left, give the boys a few minutes. But I mean, this is the 88th minute. We had 7 minutes additional time. Like, what was he doing? So he takes Shaw off, he takes Martinez off, so we've already got Casemiro off, he then takes Shaw and Martinez off, so we have absolutely no experience at the back in our defending whatsoever, because that's intelligent. He puts on Fredrickson and Malacia. I forgot Malacia was still at our club. I thought he was out on loan, and I'm not being funny, I genuinely thought Malacia was out on loan. I thought in the summer there was all these rumours of him going somewhere, and then we hadn't seen him forever. So I genuinely believe this man was out on loan. Fredrickson, I like Fredrickson. I really like Tyler Fredrickson. I think he's a good wee player, but I don't think that was the time to put him on the pitch. Why would you dismantle piece by piece the defence that you had built? So we have this defence on the pitch. We have this structure on the pitch. We have this formation on the pitch. The players know what they're doing. We're playing well. We are beating Newcastle. This is really good. And our manager goes, let's dismantle all of our defensive structure. Let's change the formation and let's put on a whole bunch of youth players and take off every bit of experience we have on the pitch. Now, it worked out in the end because we won the match. But if we had lost that match or drawn that match at that point, everybody would be shouting and screaming about these substitutions. So I think it's very important that we mention them even though we won, because that was an absolute madness. His dark arts, his bit of deception, his bit of deviousness about the lineup, highly intelligent. I love it. This, dismantling your defence mid-game with a few minutes left when Newcastle are on top of us. They've been attacking for 45 minutes because we literally went defence against attack for the whole second half at 1-0 up. Dismantling the defence that has been working together for this whole match. Nonsensical. Absolutely nonsensical. I don't know what he was thinking, but look, we won, so I'm going to stay calm. As you can see, I'm so calm. But I just think it's important that we highlight it, because if we had conceded at any point there, that's what we're talking about. Those mental substitutions. I don't know. Someone needs to check his water bottle when he's on the sideline. The only other thing that was really worth talking about was the potential handball on Martinez. Now, it was ruled as not a handball. I don't think it was a handball. I've seen some people say they thought it was a handball, so I will talk about it because it's only fair. His hands were up. He was back and forth. He was jostling with the Newcastle player. Therefore, while his hands weren't in a natural position, they were in a natural position for what he was doing. There's always jostling in the box. So they checked the two things. They checked to see, was it a penalty for a foul? And they deemed that no, essentially it was mutual contact because both players were jostling each other, that it wasn't going to be a foul or a penalty for the contact. And then because they were jostling with each other, his hands were up in the air. And can I just say as well, just so people, engage this, it hit his chest, then his arm. So even if his arms weren't in a natural position, it wouldn't have counted, because once it hit your own body and then your arm, it's not a handball. When it goes body to hand, your own body to your hand, it doesn't count. And it went from his chest to his hand. So they deemed his hands were in a natural position for the jostling that was going on. And also it hit his body first. So it wouldn't have been given anyway. So it wasn't a handball, but I do think it was worth talking about because it is a talking point for people. And obviously we do have some lovely Newcastle fans on our channel. Also, I would just say, if that was the other way around and it was against my team, I wouldn't be calling for that. Now, it was given to me, I would take it, but I wouldn't be calling for it. And that's normally my measure. If that was the other way around, would I want it for my team? And I'll be honest, I wouldn't be shouting for that for my team. So I'm not going to really entertain it being given away against my team. And can I just say, this is my last point. Please smash a like on the video, by the way. I forget to tell people this all the time. Please like the video. It really helps me out. I would appreciate that. Thank you. But also, that was Lallman's second clean sheet. So Lallman's had only, up until last night, had one clean sheet. The only team that has failed to score against us until last night was Sunderland. So considering the rivalry there, I find it beautifully ironic that the second clean sheet that Lallman's gets after Sunderland is against Newcastle. It's a little bit poetic, but also it was a clean sheet that was very, very much needed. Only his second one. He pulled off some really, really good and important saves yesterday. He's been pulling off some really good and important saves all season, but when you're also conceding that many goals, when you're not having clean sheets, you do start to go, okay, he's doing well, he's making great saves, but we're still leaking an awful lot of goals. So it was really, really nice to see us get a clean sheet yesterday, for him, for the defence, for the whole team. And obviously, as I said, Aidan Heaven is the first thing he said in his aftermatch interview. So the team are very, very much aware of this. And I think it might give them a little bit of a boost. But I am going to enjoy all of the football today, knowing my team has won. I'm going to enjoy watching everybody else play. And I just want to share this with you. Manchester United are currently 5th place in the Premier League. Our next match is going to be against Wolves. But before we play Wolves, Liverpool will play Wolves. So we're there. We're 5th on 29 points. We're behind Chelsea on goal difference. And obviously, Chelsea have a match to play, so they may not stay on 29 points. I reckon Villa beat Chelsea, so I think they will stay on 29 points, but it's possible that they won't. If they beat Aston Villa, they will have more points, or even if they draw, they'll have more points. But Liverpool are playing Wolves, so you're almost guaranteed that Liverpool are going to get 3 points here, which means they're going to move to 32, which means they are going to move up into 4th. I'm assuming that Chelsea aren't going to win their match, so that would move Liverpool up into 4th. We would fall down into 6th. Even if Sunderland win their match against Leeds, they would move to 30 points, so they would also go ahead of us, which would move us down to 7th. Even if Crystal Palace win, they would be on 29 points, the same as us, but they only have a +2 goal difference. So unless they win by more than 2 goals, the lowest that we would go is 7th, unless Crystal Palace have an absolute blinder. They're playing Spurs, so I don't see them winning by a huge goal margin. And honestly, I don't see Sunderland beating Leeds. I think Leeds win. I think Leeds beat Sunderland because Sunderland, as we have discussed on the channel, have 7 players at AFCON. That is huge. And also Leeds are one of them teams. They're going to come for a fight. I actually reckon if you want a game with a card, that's probably going to be it. Several cards. If there's going to be a red this weekend, it could be this match. Leeds are going to be up and at it. And so I think Leeds will beat Sunderland. I don't think Crystal Palace will beat Spurs by more than 2 goals. Liverpool will almost definitely beat Wolves. So I reckon by the end of today, or by the end of the game week, I think we will probably be in 6th, but we have manoeuvred ourselves into a far better position than we would have been otherwise, and it stops us just sliding down the table throughout the weeks. So thank you so much for joining me, guys. I'm going to head off to work. I will chat to you all later. Enjoy your day, enjoy the football. Hopefully you have a bit more turkey or whatever it is you like to have for your dinner, and have a lovely day. We'll talk to each other soon. Please smash a like on the video. Please get your comments in. What did you think of the match? What did you think of the points I raised? Did you think those substitutions were an absolute madness? What went wrong for Newcastle? Let me know. get in touch. Talk to me.